What up, friends? I'm James, your host, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new MAMAMOO album, White Wind. Ever quirky and popular K-pop girl group MAMAMOO have released their latest mini-album, the final installment in their Seasons quadrilogy, as a matter of fact. And this album in particular actually has some fairly familiar elements to it, kind of combining the sounds of the previous three that they released in the past few months. However, this one tends to focus more on the sounds of Yellow Flower and Red Moon, kind of combining those sounds and experimenting with a few new elements here and there that kind of give this one its own identity. The album starts with Where Are You? This one in particular, there's not too much to say about it actually. It's a fairly simple song. It has a very standard trap pop beat. There is some nice guitar and some twinkling sound effects that are sprinkled around here and there, but overall it's just kind of a standard way to start the mini album, unfortunately. However, the next song, Gogobebe, is the lead single from this mini album, and it's actually a lot better. This one in particular, it sounds like a mix of Starry Night and Egotistic, and is probably the most obvious instance of combining the sounds from Yellow Flower and Red Moon, and it's pulled off pretty well. There's a fun acoustic guitar and a very bouncy beat that keeps the song bubbly and fresh, and there's also a hint of Latin pop influences here and there as well, although it's done tastefully. Thankfully, it's not some sort of blatant disrespect of Latin pop, so it was handled very well. The lyrics are also a nice change of pace compared to a lot of K-pop songs. They're more talking about self-love and how it's fine to not have everything together. Rather, it's saying that you should live in the moment and focus on the things that make you happy. Focus on just your own psyche and mental health and just making sure you live a good life. And it's done through very nice vocal performances and some good flows as well. It all just combines into a very warm sounding fun song. Waggy is a pretty silly and fun track that comes out right after, and it reminds me of some of their quirkier stuff that they used to do back on their older albums, like Recipe from Melting, for instance. The whimsical and light acoustic guitar and beat almost have a bit of a folk pop influence, and this one in particular, it's just bouncy and fun. It's also complete with a really weird and random trumpet solo at the end that I actually really like. It just adds to the craziness and kind of the MAMAMOO charm of they kind of just do whatever they want. The lyrics are pretty innocent by MAMAMOO standards, just describing meeting someone for the first time and feeling warm and interested by just being around them. It's an interesting change of pace for the album, both sonically and lyrically, and it's one of those fun standout moments in their discography that makes you think, wow, they're just kind of having a good time, which I always like to see in songs like this. 25 is Wheein's solo song from this mini album, and it's a pretty good ballad. It doesn't really do anything too groundbreaking or anything like that, but it's fine for what it is. It leads off with a pretty hypnotic guitar and some nice vocals and piano that just bring it together. It's a good change of pace compared to the more upbeat songs on the first half of the mini album. I do think the chorus is probably the best part of the song. I'm detecting some Haze influences as well, which are always welcome in my book, and her voice combined with the very delicate piano, it's a pretty intricate and beautiful moment on this song, and it sets itself apart from a lot of other ballads that they've done in the past. Not their best ballad, but it's up there. Whein in particular has a good voice, and her delivery is very heartfelt and sincere, and combined with the lyrics that describe how small she feels in the world and how she's trying to feel grounded and not be trapped by everything happening around her, I do think it's a fairly intimate moment on this record that isn't really present in some of the other songs, so that was a very nice touch, and I'm glad that she had the chance to shine when doing that. Bad Bye is probably my favorite song on this album. It has a very dark, ominous lullaby sound to it that I really enjoy, coupled with the piano and the trap beat that weirdly works well with this song. It's a very interesting and dark turn for the record that I wasn't expecting at first, but it kind of makes sense judging the lyrical content. The lyrical content in particular is about a breakup, but they take it in a bit of a witty direction, kind of showing and explaining how their breakup story is just the standard breakup story. It's very typical, and I like how they're kind of poking fun at the fact that most of our breakup stories are fairly standard in both real life and in songs. So that was funny, and I do think that it fits the vibe that MAMAMOO's always had in their lyrics. I also really like Moonbyul's rap part as well. The beat switch is pulled off really well. It adds a sense of heaviness and seriousness to the track. And it's just a good combination of sounds that you wouldn't really expect to work together that much, but they end up pulling it off pretty well through their vocals, their flows, and a pretty good sense of production on this one. My Star continues with the kind of dark pop trap instrumentals. The string and brass segments really do add a mini wall of sound to this track and to what is normally a fairly hollow beat, so I kind of like how filling they made that space feel, and it doesn't feel empty or hollow or anything like that. I will say that the song doesn't really fit the album's sound that much. It sounds like it would be more fitting on a mini album like Red Moon or something like that. And while I do think that lyrically it's not that bad, it's also not very interesting either. I do think the sound and their vocals take the center stage here as opposed to the lyrics, but like I said, it feels like it would have been more fitting on Red Moon rather than here. The outro was a short but sweet, kind of laid-back, trap-infused R&B tune. It wraps up the mini-album fair enough. I kind of would have liked them to expand this song a little bit more, actually, but it does get the job done, and it is a nice end to the mini-album as well. Overall, I thought this was a pretty good project. It's not my favorite of the quadrilogy, that being Red Moon, but it's also not as one-note and samey as Yellow Flower. I do like the variety on this one a lot, so I think they ended up with a good amount of sounds that kind of keep everything together for the most part, but also branch out a little bit more compared to some of the other mini-albums in this quadrilogy. However, that being said, there are still instances where I wish the sounds were a little bit more focused. Red Moon, to go back to that, has a very core kind of trap R&B, trap rap sound to it, and I wish they had something that unified the songs a bit more, or even to go back even further, Melting, their first album, has that kind of throwback pop vibe that strings every song together. This one in particular doesn't have that as much, so I would have liked to see something make it a bit more cohesive. Still, there are a lot of good instrumentals on this mini album, and there are strong vocals and flows throughout, and it still keeps that MAMAMOO charm that I think fans love about them, kind of their quirky nature, knowing when to poke fun at themselves and also when to take themselves seriously. That is still here, so that's good to see that they didn't lose any of that. And I'm just interested to see where they take their sound from here. They are kind of all over the place with what they've been doing. They started very retro pop, they moved into more this trap pop influenced sound, a little bit R&B here and there. I'm interested in seeing where they're going to go next. Will they go back, or will they just continue with this? It'd be interesting to find out. I mean, they've shown that they can do a lot of different styles, so I'm sure whatever they try, it'll at least be fun at the end of the day. So that's what I have to say about MAMAMOO White Wind. I am feeling a light 7 on this. It was pretty good. Not the best, but pretty good. Of course, we do have to talk about the album covers on the show, and I love all of MAMAMOO's album covers. They're so simple and clean, and this one in particular, it's very intricate. Reminds me of the Blues cover, actually. And I love the monotone colors that they've chosen for pretty much everything they've ever released. They have great album designers. I don't know what to say. It's really nice to look at. It looks good on my CD shelf too. That is that. Thank you very much for watching. What did you think about this one? How does it compare to the other ones in the quadrilogy? Did you like this one the most? Did you like it the least? Did you not like it at all? That's the same thing. But what did you think? Tell me in the comments below. And until next time, have a good one.